Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books right here in the live studios in Hythe, Kent, southeast England, just next to the English Channel. Having a little trouble with my voice again today. Don't mind, please. We're a little late because I was trying to get my voice back. Anyway, let's get right into it. Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram was written by Sanatana Goswami, the author of Brhad Bhagavatamrta, which we'll be reading from for some time. And this is a glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam, from which the Brhad Bhagavatamrta is the essence. So I thought that this was quite apt thing to do. It goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bandhu Matsangin Mad Udo Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin atini chochita kada anamuncha kadachin mam premnarit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, excuse me, 1 minute. So, Narada Muni, in his quest for the devotee who has received the most mercy from Krishna, has come to Brahmaloka on the advice of Indra. And now we're on text 46, and we're going to hear Narada's glorification of his father, Lord Brahma. Sri Narada said, "It is you who have truly received the mercy of Lord Hari. After all, you are the master of all masters of the living beings of the universe, the grandfather of all the worlds. 47. You alone create, maintain, and devour the 14 worlds. You forever rule the universe, and you are known as the Self-Born. Commentary. In texts 46 through 52, Narada enumerates the reasons for Brahma's being the most favored devotee of the Lord. Brahma's reign is not limited like those of Indra and other demigods. He maintains his position uninterrupted by the many partial annihilations that affect the lower regions of the universe. 48. Present in person in your assembly are the Vedas, Puranas, and other scriptures, the revealers of truth, who are born from your 4 mouths. Commentary. Although the 4 Vedas are eternal, they enter the material world periodically, at the beginning of each day of Brahma, when one Veda appears from each of his 4 mouths. Brahma, therefore, is not the author of the Vedas, which include all spiritual and material knowledge, but he is Adi Kavi, the first authority on Vedic knowledge in this universe. Text 49. Your word can be attained only by saintly persons who faultlessly perform their prescribed social duties, free from pride and other vices for 100 lifetimes. Commentary. Brahma's character is exalted and his planet glorious. Saintly persons who follow prescribed duties for 100 lives without error and without falling prey to pride, deceit, and other causes of deviation become eligible for birth on Brahmaloka. As Lord Shiva says in his instructions to the Prachetas, Swadharma Nishtak Shatajanmabi Puman Birin Chitam Eti. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. Bhagavatam 4:24-29. The position of Brahma earned by pious workers normally consists of being an associate of Brahma. Receiving a universe of one's own to rule is much more rare. Text 50. Within the universe, there is no higher world than yours. Even Lord Narayana's Vaikuntha planet is found inside your world. On Brahmaloka, Lord Narayana resides always in his manifest form as the lotus-naveled Mahapurusha. He eats his shares of sacrifice and grants the sacrificial results. Although in the distant past you made many attempts and were unable to find him, after performing austerities, you finally saw him for just a moment in your heart. Commentary. The Supreme Lord, from whose navel Brahma was born, is extremely difficult to find. Brahma's having obtained the virtually unobtainable is evidence that the Lord has special regard for him. Lord Brahma, to search for his origin, first entered the stem of his lotus seat. For a long time he traced the stem back, searching for its source, even in the ocean that fills the lower regions of the universe, but he could find nothing. What to speak of identifying his Lord and understanding him? Brahma failed even to locate him physically. Lord Vishnu then graced him with a simple spoken instruction: do penance. Brahma obeyed, and after long meditation received a short vision a short vision of the Lord. This history is described in detail in the second and third cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. 53. Therefore, you are surely the dearmost devotee of Lord Krishna. Indeed, you are none other than Krishna himself, appearing in various bodies for your pastimes. Commentary. Brahma might object to being called Krishna himself. He might argue, the Lord is sitting right here in his Mahapurusha form, with thousands of heads. Besides this form, he has countless others. But I am someone different, a finite living being, with only 4 heads. Narada therefore says that among the Lord's infinite pastime appearances are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the material creation, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, each of them non-different from the original Supreme Person. Text 54. Sri Parikshit said, thus loudly praising Brahma, bowing before him with great devotion, again and again, the sage Narada expansively sang Brahma's glories, as he had heard them from Indra and seen them with his own eyes. Commentary. Indra had told Narada, Brahma is the very son of Lord Vishnu, husband of Lakshmi, and had mentioned several of Brahma's glories. Narada knew from scriptures other glories of Brahma, and now he was seeing even more. Text 55. Merely by hearing what Narada said, Brahma grew disturbed. He anxiously covered his 8 ears and said over and over again, I am just a servant. Text 56. With some effort, the 4-headed Brahma checked the anger stirred within him by hearing what no one should hear and rebuked his son Narada. Commentary. Having to work with the material mode of passion, Lord Brahma is sometimes briefly affected by anger. Here, because his son praised him inaptly as the independent Supreme Lord, he almost lost his temper. Text 57. Sri Brahma said, I am not the Supreme Lord Krishna. On what authority and by what logic do you say this? Haven't I constantly taught you about this since you were a little boy? Commentary. In Brahminical culture, one should not make any claim unless it is upheld by the Vedas or their authorized supplements. Thus Brahma rightly demands the scriptural evidence for Narada's statements. As the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam recounts, Brahma had carefully educated his son in spiritual science. Text 58. His personal energy Mahamaya stands within his sight like a maidservant. It is she who deploys her material modes to create, maintain, and demolish this world. Commentary. By the power of Rajoguna, Mahamaya creates. By Sattvaguna, she maintains. And by Tamoguna, she destroys. These are her potencies, and she is their controller. Text 59. All of us are subject to her and bewildered. You should not think me the recipient of even a trace of Krishna's mercy. Commentary. All of us means Brahma, his sons, and their descendants. Or in other words, everyone born into material existence. You are also one of us bewildered souls, Brahma here implies, and so you are speaking erroneously like this. Text 60 to 62. By the power of Krishna's Maya, I am always deluded by various conceits. I think myself the controller, grandfather, and spiritual master of the universe. Proud of my birth from Lord Krishna's lotus navel, I think myself a great ascetic, his great worshipper. I am overwhelmed by the countless duties of universal management. Worrying about the imminent destruction of my planet, I live in terror of the all-devouring end of time. All I want for myself is liberation. Commentary. According to Brahma, being the Lord of all creatures in the universe is not a sign of Krishna's favor. On the contrary, it is a cause of great trouble. His worldly responsibilities, he says, fills him with false pride and expose him to all kinds of anxiety. Brahma is bewildered by various kinds of abhiman, false identity. He thinks himself everyone's progenitor, protector, and regulator, as if he alone were the beginning, middle, and end of creation. He sees himself as the first teacher of the Vedas and all other scriptures, and the highest authority who appoints the demigods to their posts. He may be called self-born, but that name is not literally true, since he was born from a lotus growing from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. That the personified Vedas and other principal scriptures attend Lord Brahma in his court does not prove that the Supreme Lord favors him. Rather, the presence of the revealed scriptures means that Brahma is all the more bound to follow their dictates in managing the universe. These scriptures may praise Brahmaloka, but Brahma is acutely aware that his planet is soon to be destroyed. He may long outlive the demigods headed by Indra, but he still has to die. And anticipating the end of the world and the end of his life keeps Brahma always afraid. Text 63. For this purpose of liberation, I engage others in worshipping the Lord and also worship him myself. Since he is the Lord of the universe, is there any place where he does not reside? Commentary. In effect, Brahma is saying, I worship the Lord for liberation, not from the sheer joy of devotional service. So you should not regard this worship as a sign of my being favored. You said that God resides on my planet, but that is nothing exceptional, since the Lord of the universe lives inside and outside everything. Text 64. He accepts sacrificial offerings from me only to promote the Vedic teachings and show special favor to the sacrifices themselves, which are dear to him because he is their original creator. Commentary. The Vedic sacrifices are dear to the Supreme Lord because they benefit all living beings, engaging them indirectly in his service. The Lord, after all, is forever eager to have the wayward souls come back to him. In Brahma's opinion, the Lord reciprocates with him because of the Lord's concern for the welfare of the universe, not because he is particularly interested in Brahma or the other sacrificers. Brahma thus expresses the limited thoughts of ritualistic religion, placing God at a formal distance and ignoring the Lord's constant compassion for every living being. In fact, the Supreme Lord cares in an intimate, personal way for all living beings, including those who have chosen to forget him, since time immemorial. Text 65. Just consider this, my dear professor of logic. He loves only devotion. He shows his mercy only to his devotees, never to non-devotees. Commentary. This statement by Brahma is confirmed by many statements spoken by the Supreme Lord. For example, Bhaktya ham ekaya graya. I can be realized only by devotional service. Bhagavatam 11:14-21. Text 66. Forget about my having any devotion for him. I would be happy if only it were true that I never offend him. I cannot expect him to tolerate my offenses as he does Lord Shiva's. Text 67. With benedictions obtained from me, the wicked Hiranyakashipu became the tormentor of all the worlds, dedicated to violence against Vaishnavas. Text 68-69. After the Lord, in his form as Nrsingadev, destroyed Hiranyakashipu, I and my entourage stood fearful at a distance, trying to praise the Lord with skillful prayers. But he would not even honor us with a sidelong glance. Yet when Prahlad was inaugurated king, the Lord at once became pacified. Text 70. Then I slowly approached him, and he angrily ordered me, "You should not give such benedictions to demons, O lotus-born." Nonetheless, I kept on giving benedictions to the wicked demons like Ravana, whose tongue can even mention the sins Ravana has done. Commentary. In texts 67-78, Brahma elaborates on the offenses against the Lord for which he considers himself responsible. Having mentioned the killing of Hiranyakashipu, Brahma goes on to tell Lord Nrsinga's dissatisfaction at Brahma's mistakes. The promise of invincibility Brahma gave Hiranyakashipu resulted in offenses to the Lord's pure devotee. The Lord takes such offenses more seriously than offenses directed against him, against himself. Although Lord Nrsinga killed Hiranyakashipu, Brahma and other demigods tried to pacify the Lord. They thought they might deserve the Lord's kind glance and perhaps blessings expressed by the touch of his feet on their heads. But for some time, Lord Nrsinga remained so furious that he would not even recognize the demigods standing before him. Thus he expressed his displeasure, and when Brahma finally got the courage to approach him, the Lord also expressed displeasure by his words. Finally, only by the prayers of Prahlad was Lord Nrsingadev calmed. Seeing this, Brahma thought, now that he is pacified, he will be ready to respond gracefully to my prayers. Lord Nrsinga, however, was still annoyed enough to rebuke Brahma. His original words are recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam 7:10-30. Maivam vibho shuranam te pradeyak padmasam bhava badak krura nisarganam abhinam amritam yata. My dear Lord Brahma, O great Lord born from the lotus, just as it is dangerous to feed milk to a snake it is dangerous to give benedictions to demons who are by nature ferocious and jealous. I warn you not to give such benedictions to any demon again. Lord Nrsinga was not going to excuse Brahma for his bad judgment just because Brahma had been born from the Lord's own navel. After all, Brahma was still a finite jiva with a tendency to make mistakes. The Lord's judgment was later confirmed when Brahma gave Ravana supernatural power. Misusing that power, Ravana disturbed the world, offended Lord Ramachandra by kidnapping Mother Sita, and committed other odious crimes. Text 72. Remember the offenses committed against the Lord by Indra and other demigods I appointed. The excessive pride of those demigods constantly perverts their discrimination. Text 73. Indra sent rain to retaliate for the Govardhan sacrifice, sometimes fought against the Lord, and committed other offenses. The Lord of the Waters, Varuna, offended the Lord by kidnapping Nanda Maharaj, by failing to return the cows belonging to Bana, and so on. Text 74. Yamaraj made mistakes, like allowing the wrongful death of the son of the Lord's teacher, and Kuvera was responsible for the wicked misdeeds of Shankachuda and others. In the lower planetary systems live the Daityas, who always attack Lord Vishnu's devotees. And also living there are the serpent friends of Kaliya, who by nature are contaminated by anger. Commentary. Indra had mentioned to Narada that Brahma appoints the rulers of the planets. Brahma now turns this praise around, showing that the same fact is a reason for him to feel ashamed. These universal rulers have committed numerous offenses against Lord Vishnu, and Brahma considers the offenses of his subordinates his own. Narada is familiar with these incidents, but Brahma is asking him to remember them for a moment. Indra offended Krishna by trying to destroy Vrindavan in the wake of the Govardhana Puja, and he fought Krishna when Krishna took away the Parijata flower tree for his queen, Satyabhama. At various times, Indra dared criticize Krishna, not fully respecting his supremacy. Although in an earlier conversation with Narada, Indra mentioned some of his own offenses, his memory of other offenses he had committed was covered by subtle pride. Varuna arrested Krishna's father Nanda for bathing in the Jamuna at a forbidden time during the last minutes of the night at the beginning of the Dwadashi. And Varuna ordered Nanda Maharaj bound and brought to his court. Varuna is also known to have failed to return some cows that belonged to Bana and to have sometimes spoken duplicitously. Yama, the Lord of Death, took away the young son of Krishna's teacher, Sandipani Muni, allowing the demon Panchajanya to kill the Brahmana boy. Sri Vishnu Purana 5:21-30 and other scriptures furthermore describe Yamarajas becoming an opponent of Krishna in battle. Kuvera's servant, Shankachuda, tried to kidnap Krishna's cowherd girlfriends, and as described in the Puranas, the two sons of Kuvera cursed by Narada to become trees were implicated in collaborating with King Kamsa. Whoa. Besides the demigods Indra, Varuna, Yama, and Kuvera, who were the superintendents of the four principal directions, minor demigods are also guilty of offenses against Krishna, and the subterranean serpents come in for blame simply because they are blood relatives of Kaliya. Text 76. And recently by my magic I stole the calves and young friends the Lord were watching after Vrindavan. I took them all away while the boys were having lunch. Commentary. In Brahma's opinion, this last offense, his own, was worse than all the transgressions committed by the other demigods. While Krishna was enjoying lunch with his friends in the sacred forest of Vrindavan, Brahma disturbed him by stealing the cows and boys Krishna was personally protecting. Resorting to mystic power, Brahma removed them from Krishna's presence and hid them in a cave. Text 77. I then saw some most amazing wonders and became frightened. Offering prayers and bowing down to the Lord, I thought, I am so arrogant. But now, in his pastime as a cowherd boy, he has tricked me. Commentary. Krishna arranged for Brahma to see that he had continued playing with the boys and calves for a whole year, even after Brahma had supposedly kidnapped them. Brahma saw each of the boys and calves assume the spiritual form of the personality of Godhead, each holding within himself all the universes. Suddenly realizing the seriousness of his offense, Brahma became afraid. He thought himself arrogant because he had now dared approach with prayers and obeisances the Lord he had repeatedly offended. Brahma focused his mind on Lord Krishna, standing before him as a small cowherd boy, holding a handful of chipped rice and yogurt from someone else's plate. And Brahma was astounded. The Lord had defeated him, and now the Lord was not even responding to his prayers. Text 78. Simply by the spontaneous glance of favor upon me from his lotus face, I became joyful. I realized how fortunate I was to have visited the land of Braja, which is so dear to him. Commentary. Narada might wonder how everything seemed all right with Brahma so soon after Brahma's blunder and embarrassment. How was he now sitting happily in his own abode? One answer Brahma gives here is that he at once felt the purpose of his life fulfilled just by seeing the Lord's ever-smiling face. And he had also received the rare opportunity to stay a short time in Sri Brajadam. Braja is the most sacred land, and Krishna is the only shelter of its residents. Thus Brahma felt that after having mistreated the calves and cowherd boys of Braja, it was best for him to leave quickly and go back to Brahmaloka. Text 79. Fearing I would commit more offenses if I stayed there too long, I then went away. What else need I tell you about my ill fortune? Commentary. Rajabhumi is the place of the Supreme Lord's intimate dealings with his dearmost devotees. Materialistic persons should not stay there longer than a few days, long enough to get transcendental benefit from contact with the holy Dham, but not long enough to become offensive toward the Dham and its residents. Brahma, thinking himself one of the ordinary conditioned souls, had returned quickly to his own place. Now he had nothing more to say about his own shortcomings, since he felt he had adequately refuted each point of Narada's praise. In fact, in this universe, purport, this is verse 80. In fact, in this universe, I see no object of Lord Vishnu's mercy equal to Mahadev, Shiva. He is famous as the dear friend of the Lord. Commentary. Other than Lord Shiva, everyone in every part of the universe, upper, middle, and lower, is imperfect. Although certain persons, like Prahlad, will be described later in this book as greater devotees of Krishna than Lord Shiva, strictly speaking, they are not residents of the material world, because the character of a devotee like Prahlad is untouched by material contamination. Anywhere he resides is spiritual. Thus, Lord Brahma is not speaking inconsistently. Because Brahma and Shiva are both guna avatars, the Supreme Lord deals with them similarly. Brahma can understand Lord Krishna's mercy on Lord Shiva because it resembles something within his own experience. But the exceptional mercy obtained by a person much greater than himself is beyond Brahma's ability to understand. Only things in some way similar can be meaningfully compared as greater and lesser. For example, the weight of a blade of grass is so extremely different from that of a mountain that one cannot sensibly compare them. Thus, when Goddess Ganga, as we are told in Sri Harivangsha, declares the ocean more fortunate than herself, she does not compare herself with Brahma, who is much more fortunate still. In the same way, Brahma here compares himself with Lord Shiva, and not with even greater Vaishnavas, like Prahlad. What to speak of the cowherd boys and the other inhabitants of Braja? Text 81. Lord Krishna is always intoxicated by the taste found at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. He therefore has no interest in any of the normal goals of life, even up to rulership of the universe and the sense enjoyment such rulership provides. As if ridiculing materialists like me, who are simply addicted to sense enjoyment, he goes around naked, wearing garlands of dustura, arka, and bones, and smeared all over with ashes. 83. His matted locks scattered about, he moves around aimlessly, like a madman, yet he is unable to conceal his glories. With joy, he carries on his head the Ganga, born from the water that washed Krishna's lotus feet. When he dances, he destroys the universe. Commentary. Lord Shiva rejects with disdain the ambitions of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification and liberation. He has no desire to be an independent controller and enjoyer. The satisfaction others derive from worldly pursuits and the achievement of supremacy does not attract him. He identifies himself fully as a servant of Krishna. In Lord Shiva's view, demigods like Brahma and Indra are addicted to sense enjoyment. Their celestial garlands, ornaments, and perfumes last only a short time and so leave them dissatisfied. Better than the decorations of the demigods are his own garlands, made of bones and intoxicating weeds, which at least cause no disappointment when they decay. These strange ornaments, Lord Shiva thinks, are no less substantial than Indra's and Brahma's divine garlands. But these are only Lord Shiva's external decorations. His real ornament and his real enjoyment are found in the mercy of Sri Krishna. Humbly thinking himself bereft of that mercy, he feels fit to wear weeds and bones. With such ideas in mind, the great Lord Shiva conducts himself in his own peculiar way. Text 84. And I'll stop here. It's 8 o'clock. And I promised that I would end by 8:15. Tomorrow I have to go early to, for an appointment. So, Hare Krishna. If there's any reflections or comments or discussion, please be merciful and tolerate when I stop at 8:15. Abhaya Das Brahmacharya is eyeing scrolling up and down, madly trying to find the right ones. Okay.
Okay, something from Avadut Roy.
Hare Krishna, Avadut Roy.
He says, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Narsingha told Brahma not to give benedictions to demons. But how can Nrsimhadev say that? Brahma is just doing his duty.
How can... Are you kidding? This is a foolish question. Lord Nrsimhadev is Krishna. Lord Brahma is a servant of Krishna. He's the master. And the master can say whatever he wants to his disciple, to his subordinate.
Here's a second question also.
Yes.
He says, I heard somewhere worshipping demigods that the worshipper gets agyata sukriti because following the rules of the Vedas, which come from the breath of Vishnu. Is this so?
Yeah, it's true that there is some benefit, but it's not pure devotional service. Agyata sukriti is not pure devotional service. It's piety. He's getting piety from indirectly doing something. And that's good. It's not that we should disrespect the demigods. Who are we compared to Lord Brahma? He may criticize himself out of humility so that he doesn't have to feel uncomfortable receiving, that kind of praise that he is Krishna or he is a great Krishna Bhakta. Because he's still, like it said in one of the purports, he's still influenced by passion to a certain extent. Simply, even though he's a qualitative incarnation, he still has to deal with the mode of passion. He has to interact with it. Vishnu never touches the modes of nature. So therefore Lord Brahma considers himself not qualified to be compared to Vishnu. What to speak of Vishnu's pure devotees, or devotees like Lord Shiva, who are even more elevated than he. Hare Krishna. It's gone silent. We've got 10 more minutes. I scared everybody away. My fault. My bad. It's refreshing to hear devotees of the level of Brahma exhibiting their humility. But they still become proud. from time to time. And they still give, like benedictions to demons who are especially powerful and do especially intense austerities that no one else practically can do, like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. He feels obliged, especially the ones that worship him. So how much more humble do we have to become? Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop here. 8:05, good, we'll get a little extra. I'd like to thank you so much, and especially I'd like to thank you for honoring my request to keep it a little shorter during this time when I've decided to get the best of it a little earlier. Thank you so much. Thank you for engaging me in devotional service. Without all of you, I wouldn't be doing this every day. So I so much deeply appreciate. Shri Brhad Bhagavatamrta ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic. The pure bliss of Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow. Hari Bo.